Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hollywood Actor's Guide to Surviving the Film and TV Industry. My name is Jennifer Lynn Warren, your host here in LA. And as always, you know me, I like my quotes. Martin Luther King said, "Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase." And I became obsessed with a show recently called Schitt's Creek, and it led me down a rabbit hole online. And then I found a really cool article on mental floss called 15 Funny Facts About Schitt's Creek. And in the facts section, they're talking about Emily Hampshire's audition to, if you've seen it, she plays like this deadpan motel front desk clerk woman. And I want to read you part of the article. It says, "When she got the audition for Schitt's Creek, Hampshire was living in LA and going through a rough time. I literally had $800 in my bank account, hadn't worked in a year, was getting a divorce," she tells Mental Floss. To make matters worse, she was also breaking out into hives when she went out on auditions. So when her agent called about Schitt's, Hampshire said she absolutely couldn't go read in person. What she could do instead was put herself on tape. But at her agent's insistence, Hampshire went in to audition in front of Daniel and a casting director. Daniel's the creator of the show. And it was a memorable experience for everyone involved but her. Hampshire says she doesn't remember any of it. Thankfully, Levy does. Emily came in and immediately said, "I'm sorry, this is going to be terrible," which, side note, I don't recommend you ever doing. She did it and it was great. And I remember saying, why don't we just try it where she gets a little more kick out of these people? She's just not judging them. She's like enjoying them too. So she did it again and you can tell when it clicks. And I remember saying, "Great, we're good." And she was like, "No, it was, oh God, it was terrible. It was so bad." Then she covered her head with her shirt to hide. Hampshire doesn't remember that part either, but Levy said, "I remember it fondly." So here's an audition from an actress's point of view that has gone completely terribly. But she took her agent's advice. She showed up in the audition room, and I bet if she had put herself on tape, she would not have booked it because she would not have been there to get the redirect. But instead, she took faith in what her agent said. She took that first step. She went into that room. She had no idea the whole staircase that she was about to go down, which would lead to a series regular role. And she's so fantastic on that show. I'm a little obsessed with it. I binged it like the past 2 weeks. I totally binged that show. It was really great. But it's just such a great example of how you just don't know. So you just got to keep going and you just got to keep walking, and you never know which audition, even the one you think is horrible, just is going to click. So right after doing this podcast, I am actually going to be recording some voices for a friend of mine. He's doing an animation project for kids. He has an animator. It's a passion project. I'm pretty much doing it on spec. It's union, but I'm not getting paid up front. But it's a friend of mine, and I think it's going to go somewhere. So I'm doing it for him. So I was going over my voiceover notes. And being a voiceover artist, there is some differences. Some people will say there's no difference than there is with acting, but you lose the ability to show people your body and to express with your eyes and emote. So I think it's completely different because you're painting with your voice everything that you would normally do through, your physicalities. And something to know about animation that I didn't realize at first, it's kind of obvious if you really think about it, but they will dub the voices before doing the animation. So for some reason, I always thought they did the animation and then you had to go in and match the cartoons, which is absolutely crazy. What they do is they bring in the actors first, and then the animators work around what you did. So when you're preparing for a character and you're going into an audition, you want to take notes on a couple things and this is how I find it really helps me. You want to take notes on like how you're standing, where you're resonating in your body, in your speaking cavities. Figure out how your character likes to laugh. Figure out how your character likes to cry, figure out all these things in case they redirect you in the room or the emotions are not what you are thinking, and build a repertoire of voices to go to. So if you are auditioning for a dragon for an animation, or even like I am today, I'm going to be doing a voiceover for a couple different teddy bears. I'm not going to give him one choice to choose from voice wise. I'm going to choose a couple different voices that I feel would work with that character so he can decide which voice that he likes. And even doing animation, I find it's very helpful to dress like the character that you are performing. It really does help. And another thing in animation, the people who book the jobs tend to do things that are unexpected because they are looking for you to play with the characters and not just go in and be a robot and read the page, which is what an amateur will do for voiceover. If you are in LA and you are union, SAG does have voice labs that you can go in and record your auditions for free. You just have to make an appointment and they can always see you same day. So it's usually, they just want to make sure somebody else is not in there. It's hardly ever used, so it's almost always free. So contact SAG. If you need to put an audition on tape, you can do it for free at SAG for voiceover stuff. And just know that when you're doing voiceover, it's not about, quote, putting on a voice. It really is about connecting with the truth. So if you're looking for some opportunities to do voice stuff, if you go to the website Voice123, you can go on there, and a lot of times they're looking for like radio spots and things like that. So you can actually find a lot of auditions. So that, again, that is Voice123. Some of the funnest animation characters you can ever do, of course, are villains. And a good thing to remember about villains is that they love their words. They love talking. They love hearing themselves, especially it seems like in animation. So never rush your villains, guys. Always really enjoy. And just like in acting, and we've talked about this before, when choosing whether to love or hate something, you always choose love. You'll get more mileage out of it. It's always more interesting to choose, you quote, hate somebody because you love them so much and they've really wounded you versus you just purely hate them, even if you're playing a villain. So start with your voice and then build up from there. If you guys are looking to do some home stuff, GarageBand is free if you've got Apple. I don't know what PC stuff is out there, but I know for Apple, you can use GarageBand to record. A lot of people do their podcasts on GarageBand. I personally do mine through Adobe Audition, but that's just my personal choice. And Snowball mics, if you don't have a big budget and you just want to do some voiceover or animation stuff at home, Snowball mics are pretty cheap and they sound really good. So they're really good starter mics if you're looking for something to, have at home. So we're heading into Christmas time, and lo and behold, there are so many car commercials out there because I guess people get cars for Christmas. It's never been something that's happened in my experience, but according to TV, it apparently happens all the time. Not in my economic situation, but possibly in others. So car commercial auditions are coming up. So not only for this season, but I know that they do a big push even at the beginning of the year to push new cars. And something to think about for car commercial auditions is that every commercial has a moment of falling in love with the car. And that goes with every commercial. There's that moment where you just realize how much you love that cereal or how much you love those socks, whatever it is. All that acting training that you have to connect with somebody emotionally authentically needs to happen in a commercial. So all that training to fall in love with that actor you don't really like off screen can be applied to commercial acting. And it's a lot easier to fall in love with a car than it is with an actor you don't get along with, right? And you want to be very careful. I've seen a lot of actors when they're prepping for commercials, they're adding a lot of verbal improv. for auditions that don't have any speaking, and you notice that not a lot of car commercials have speaking. It's just people driving next to beautiful beaches for some reason. So just do what they are asking you to do, and do not adjust the rear view mirror. Don't do it. Even if the guy giving you the example, because a lot of time in commercials, they give you an example of what's going to happen in the room, even if he does it, don't do it unless they specifically ask you to do it, because it is such a trope, and it feels like how many times do you actually adjust your rear view mirror? You don't. Not unless somebody comes in your car and messes with your stuff, right? They come in, they change everything, then you got to adjust your mirror. Fine. But it should be set. It's your car. You're in love with this car. The mirror's already, set. And there's a weird thing about floating steering wheels, right? So what a floating steering wheel is, if you go in for a car commercial, they're actually going to hand you a fake steering wheel. Don't hold it up at your face. I see a lot of actors do that. Don't put it at your face. Just set it down, rest it on your knees, and then that gives your face all the room to act and to be in the moment that you need. And if you notice, your steering wheel is usually right down at your knees anyway. So put the steering wheel on your knees. And you'll notice that a lot of rooms these days have, and this goes for all commercials in general, I've noticed that all the audition rooms have blue backgrounds. So I've started to, even though I look really good in blue, I have started to try to avoid wearing that in my clothes, because I feel you kind of blend. That's what, I don't know what I was thinking a moment ago, but you start to blend into the background, and then you're not standing out. So just a little side note of something I've noticed lately, there's just been a lot of blue on a lot of walls. So that's it today, guys. I hope you survived Thanksgiving. If you need any words of encouragement, just go ahead and email me at hollywoodactorsguide@gmail.com. I'll see what I can do to help. So break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone.